This book, put together by Jorgenson, captures the thoughts, beliefs, and ideas of Naval Ravikant, an entrepreneur, investor, and thinker who has won widespread admiration not only for his financial success, but also for his clarity of mind and introspective approach to life. Naval's ideas emerge from the crucible of living experience, rather than boardrooms or academic halls. Naval has shaped his perspective through tweets, podcasts, interviews, and essays that combine Eastern philosophy and Silicon Valley pragmatism. The Almanac brings these strands together to form a unified narrative, providing readers with meaningful insights about how to build long-term prosperity while nurturing inner serenity. This isn't your typical self-help guidebook or get-rich-quick scam. Rather, it's a compilation of mental models, life philosophies, and hard-earned lessons that encourage readers to think for themselves, behave thoughtfully, and live a life that is consistent with their ideals. Whether you are an aspiring entrepreneur, an inquisitive seeker, or someone looking for a more meaningful life, Naval's observations provide a special type of guidance, based on clarity, simplicity, and ruthless honesty. In this summary, we will look at the book's core ideas, which range from wealth generation and decision-making to mindfulness and happiness. The purpose is not only to repeat Naval's words, but to dissect their relevance and investigate how they may be implemented in real life. Let's begin with the book's first fundamental idea, building wealth. Making money is not something you do, it is a skill you acquire. It is not really about hard labor. You can work in a restaurant for 80 hours a week and not get rich. Getting rich requires knowing what to do, who to do it with, and when to do it. Understanding is far more important than simply working hard. Yes, hard effort is important, and you should not skimp on it, but it must be aimed correctly. If you are unsure about what you should work on, the most important thing is to figure it out. You should not put in a lot of hard work before you know what you should be focusing on. Make yourself more productive. If your long-term objective is to get wealthy, you should ask yourself, is this authentic to me? Am I projecting myself? Then, am I productizing it? Am I scaling it? Am I scaling with labor, capital, code, or media? But this is difficult. This is why I say it takes decades, not necessarily to execute, but it may take the better part of a decade to figure out what you can uniquely deliver. What is the distinction between wealth and money? Money is how we transfer wealth. Money represents social credits. It is the capacity to obtain credits for other people's time. If I execute my job correctly, if I add value to society, society says, oh, thank you. We owe you something in the future for the work you've done previously. Let's call it money. Wealth is what you desire. Wealth is defined as assets that earn money while you sleep. Examples include stocks, real estate, and businesses. Society is continuously looking for new things. And if you want to be wealthy, you must choose which of those things you can supply for society that it does not yet know how to obtain, but will desire, and provide it in a way that is natural to you, within your skill set, and within your abilities. Then you have to figure out how to scale it, because building one is insufficient. Identify and develop particular knowledge. Specific knowledge cannot be taught, but it can be learned. When I say specific knowledge, I mean being able to recall what you did as a child or teenager with ease. Something you didn't consider a skill, but others noticed. The specific knowledge is a strange blend of unique characteristics from your DNA, your unique environment, and your reaction to it. It's almost integrated into your personality and identity. Pursuing your intrinsic talents, real curiosity, and passion yields far more specific knowledge. It is not by enrolling in school for the most desirable job. Specific knowledge is frequently on the cutting edge of knowledge. It also includes information that is only now being figured out or is really difficult to understand. If you aren't fully committed, someone who will outperform you, and they will exceed you not just little, but significantly. Nobody can compete with you for being you. The majority of life is spent searching for who and what needs you the most. The internet has significantly expanded the range of professional opportunities. Most people have yet to figure this out. You can use the internet to find your target audience, and you can start a business, produce a product, build riches, and make others happy simply by expressing yourself individually on the internet. The internet allows you to scale out whatever particular interest you have, as long as you are the greatest at it. And the good news is that because each person is unique, Everyone excels at something, being themselves. You aim to avoid competition by being real. Basically, when you compete with others, you're copying them. It's because you're trying to do the same thing. However, each human is unique. Do not copy. The most crucial talent for being wealthy is being a lifelong learner. You must know how to learn anything you choose to study. Today, being able to become an expert in a new topic in 9 to 12 months is far more significant than having studied the right thing for a long time. You care deeply about having studied the fundamentals. Thus, you are not afraid of any book. If you go to the library and can't understand a book, you have to delve deeper and ask, what is the foundation required for me to learn this? Foundations are really crucial. Basic arithmetic and numeracy are far more vital in life than learning calculus. Similarly, being able to communicate easily in English is significantly more important than having a large vocabulary or speaking 7 different foreign languages. Foundations are essential. It's far better to be at 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 on foundations than to try to delve deeply into topics. You must be deeply invested in anything or you will not achieve your goals in life. You can only master 1 or 2 things. It is generally something you're infatuated with. Play a long-term game with long-term players. Compound interest is an extremely powerful idea. Compound interest refers to more than just compounding capital. Compounding in commercial partnerships is really crucial. Consider some of the most prominent roles in society, such as why someone is a CEO. People trust them. They are trusted because the relationships they have established and the work they have done have grown. They have remained in the business and demonstrated, in a visible and accountable manner, that they are persons of great integrity. Compound interest also affects your reputation. People will notice if you have a good reputation and continue to build it over time. Your reputation will literally be thousands or tens of thousands of times more valuable than someone who is extremely talented but failed to maintain the compound interest and reputation. When you identify the appropriate thing to do and the right people to collaborate with, spend heavily. Sticking with it for decades is how you get the best results in your relationships and your finances. So compound interest is quite essential. 99% of the effort is wasted. Obviously, nothing is ever fully squandered because every moment is an opportunity to learn. However, when you return to school, 99% of the papers and books you study will most likely be irrelevant to your life goals. But you probably gained other vital things, such as the importance of hard effort, or you may have learned something that permeated your brain and formed a part of who you are now. Another example is the people you dated before meeting your husband or wife. In terms of goal accomplishment, it was a waste of time, not squandered in the exponential or learning sense, but certainly wasted in the aim sense. This is not to imply that 99% of your life is squandered and only 1% is productive. I mention this because you should be very thoughtful and know that in most situations, relationships, employment, even learning, what you're trying to do is find something where you can go all in and gain compound interest. When you're dating, the moment you realize this isn't going to be the one that leads to marriage, you should probably go on. When you're studying something, such as a history lesson, and realize you'll never apply the information, drop the course. It is a waste of time and energy. I am not suggesting don't do the 99% since it is difficult to determine what the 1% is. What I mean is that when you identify the 1% of your discipline that will not be squandered, can be invested in for the rest of your life, and has purpose for you, go all in and forget about the rest. Take on accountability. Accept accountability and accept business risks in your own name. Society will reward you with accountability, equity, and leverage. To become wealthy, you must first acquire leverage. Leverage can take the form of labor, capital, code, or media. The majority of these, however, such as labor and capital, must be provided by others. Someone must accompany you during labor. Someone must provide you with money and assets in order for you to have capital. To obtain these items, you must first establish reputation, which requires you to do so as much as possible under your own name, which is risky. So accountability has a double edge. It enables you to take credit when things go well and accept blame when things go wrong. Clear responsibility is essential. Without accountability, you cannot establish credibility. But you take risks. You run the danger of failure. You risk embarrassment. You risk failing in your own name. Recognize that in modern culture, the negative risk is not significant. In good ecosystems, even personal bankruptcy can wipe out debts. People will generally forgive failures if you are honest and make an effort with great integrity. There isn't much to fear in terms of failure. Therefore, people should take on far more responsibility than they do. For someone who is early in their career, or even later, the single most crucial aspect of a corporation is the alumni network that they will create. Consider who you will work with and what they will go on to do, build or buy stock in a business, and why it is vital. If you do not own a stake of a business, you will not be able to achieve financial freedom. The choice is between ownership and paid work. If you're paid to rent out your time, even lawyers and physicians, you can make some money, but it will not be enough to provide you with financial freedom. You will not have passive income, where a business earns for you while you are on vacation. This is arguably one of the most significant points. People appear to believe that you can produce wealth, make money through effort. It's probably not going to work. There are several causes for this. Without ownership, your inputs are inextricably linked to your outputs. Almost any salaried employment, even one that pays well per hour, such as a lawyer or a doctor, requires you to put in the hours, and you get compensated for each one. The company you work for will not pay you enough. They will pay you the bare minimum required to complete their job. That can be a high bare minimum, but it will not be actual wealth if you're retired but still working. Owning shares in a firm essentially implies owning the upside. If you do not own equity in a business, your chances of making money are minimal. Find a position of leverage. We live in an era of limitless leverage, and the economic incentives for intellectual curiosity have never been greater. Following your intellectual curiosity is a stronger basis for a career than pursuing what is now profitable. Passions and interests will generate knowledge that only you or a small group of people are aware of. I merely want to accomplish things for their own sake. That's one definition of art. Whether it's work, fitness, romance, or friendship, I believe the meaning of life is to do things for their own sake. Ironically, doing things for their own sake results in your finest work. The less you want something, the less you think about it, and the less you worry over it, the more you will do it naturally. The more you will do it for yourself. People around you will notice that your work is of greater quality. If someone can teach others how to do something, they can replace you. If they can replace you, they won't have to pay you much. You want to learn how to do something that others do not know how to perform at a time when those skills are in high demand. You will never get rich renting out your time. Whenever possible in life, prioritize independence before money. What you want in life is to have control over your time. You want to work in a leveraging position where you have control over your time and are evaluated based on your output. If you have precise expertise, accountability, and leverage, they must pay you what you are worth. Then you get your time back because all you care about is the real work, so you don't need to attend meetings just for the purpose of attending them. Tools and leverage cause this mismatch between inputs and outputs. A profession's increased creativity component increases the likelihood of unconnected inputs and outputs. If you choose vocations where your inputs and outputs are inextricably linked, it will be quite difficult to produce money and wealth for yourself in the process. If you want to be a member of a successful technology company, you must be able to sell or build. If you don't already do either, learn. Learn to sell and construct. If you can accomplish both, you will be unstoppable. Building can encompass development, production, and design. Selling might include selling to specific customers, promoting, recruiting, and connecting with others. The one thing you must avoid is the possibility of disaster. Avoiding ruin entails staying out of jail. So, avoid doing anything illegal. Stay away from total catastrophic loss. I also mean to avoid situations that could be physically risky or harm your body. You must monitor your health. Stay away from anything that could cost you all of your capital and savings. Don't gamble everything at once. Instead, place rationally optimistic bets with significant upsides. There are 3 categories of leverage. 1. Labor refers to other people working for you. It is the oldest type of leverage, yet it is not particularly effective in today's society. Managing other people is quite messy. It takes exceptional leadership abilities. 2. Money. Every decision is multiplied by money. Capital is a difficult type of leverage to employ. It has most likely been the primary form of leverage over the last century. It scales quite nicely. If you get skilled at managing capital, You'll be able to manage more and more capital far more easily than you would manage more and more people. 3. Products having zero marginal cost of replication. Books, media, movies, and code. Code is likely the most powerful type of permissionless leverage. You only need a computer. No permission is required. This is the new type of leverage. This was just invented within the last few hundred years. It began with the printing press. It began with broadcast media and has since grown exponentially with the internet and coding. Now you can quadruple your efforts without involving other people. This book is an example of leverage. Before, I had to sit in a lecture hall and lecture every one of you individually. I'd have probably contacted a few hundred individuals, and that would have been it. The most intriguing aspect of new forms of leverage is that they require no consent. They do not require authorization from anyone else in order for you to utilize or succeed. This can include coding, authoring books, recording podcasts, tweeting, and YouTube. We live in the age of leverage. As a worker, you want to be as leveraged as possible so that you may have a significant impact with minimal time or physical effort. A leveraged worker can outperform a non-leveraged worker by a factor of 1,000 or 10,000. With a leveraged worker, judgment is significantly more important than time or effort. Inputs do not match outputs for leveraged workers. Real estate example with leverage. The worst type of work is one that requires labor to fix a house. Maybe you get paid $15 per hour. You go to people's houses. Your supervisor expects you to be there at 8 a.m., and you repair your portion of the house. You have no leverage or accountability here. You are accountable to your manager, not the client. You lack specific understanding because what you're doing is common work. The next step up could be the general contractor working on the house for the owner. They may be paid $50,000 to complete the entire job, but they pay the workforce $15 per hour and retain the difference. Obviously, being a general contractor is preferable. But how do we measure it? How do we know it is better? Well, we know it is better because this person is accountable. They are accountable for the outcome, and they must sweat at night if things aren't functioning. Contractors benefit from the labor of their employees. They also have some more specific information, such as how to assemble a team, ensure that they arrive on time, and navigate city restrictions. The next step forward could be becoming a real estate developer. A developer is someone who will purchase a property, employ a team of contractors, and change it into something more valuable. To purchase a home, they will most likely need to take out a loan or seek funding from investors. Instead of $50,000 for the general contractor or $15 per hour for the labor, the developer may be able to profit by $1 million or $500,000 when the house is sold. But now consider what is demanded of the developer, a high level of accountability. The developer assumes greater risk, is more accountable, has more leverage, and requires more specific knowledge. They must comprehend funding, city regulations, and where the real estate market is headed. It's more tough. Prioritize and focus. Set an hourly pricing for your time and spend ruthlessly to save it. You will never be worth more than you believe you are. No one will value you more than you do yourself. You just need to set a very high personal hourly fee and stick to it. Even when I was young, I just determined that I was worth much more than the market felt I was, and I began treating myself accordingly. Can you elaborate on your comment? If you secretly despised wealth, it will elude you. If you adopt a relative perspective, you will continually despise and envy those who outperform you. When you try to do business with someone, if you have any negative thoughts or judgments about them, they will notice. Humans are wired to feel what the other person is feeling deep down inside. You have to move out of the relative perspective. Being anti-wealth will prohibit you from getting wealthy because you will lack the necessary mindset, spirit, and ability to interact with others on the appropriate level. Be optimistic and positive. It's important. Optimists actually perform better in the long run. Wealth creation is an evolutionary new positive-sum game. Status is an old zero-sum game. Those opposed to wealth accumulation frequently crave status. People primarily play two large games throughout life. One is the financial game, because money will not fix all of your problems, but it will solve all of your financial troubles. People understand this, thus they want to make money. The other is the status game. Status represents your position in the social order. Status is a zero-sum game. This is a really old game. We've been playing it since monkey tribes. It's structured in a hierarchy. Who is number one? Who is number 2? Who is number 3? In order for number 3 to shift to number 2 must first move out of that spot. Therefore, status is a zero-sum game. The dilemma is that in order to win a status game, you must lower someone else's status. That is why you should avoid status games in your life. They turn you into an angry, confrontational individual. You're constantly battling to elevate yourself and the people you care about over others. What is the most crucial thing that young people should do while starting out? Spend extra time on key decisions. In your early life, you make 3 major decisions: where you live, who you spend your time with, and what you do. If you plan to live in a city for 10 years, work for 5 years, or be in a relationship for 10 years, you should spend 1 to 2 years deciding on these things. These are extremely important decisions. These 3 selections are really important. You must say no to everything in order to free up time to address the most pressing issues. Those 3 are perhaps the most significant. Determine your strengths and begin assisting others in those areas. Give it away. Pay it forward. Karma works when people are consistent. On a long enough period, you will attract what you envision. But don't measure. Counting will exhaust your patience. Discover work that feels like play. I learned how to earn money because it was necessary. I stopped caring about it once it was no longer necessary. Work, for me, was a means to an end. Earning money was a means to an end. You genuinely desire freedom. You want to be free from your financial issues, right? I believe that is acceptable. You want to retire once you've solved your financial concerns, either by lowering your lifestyle or earning enough money. What is your definition of retirement? Retirement is when you stop sacrificing today for a fictitious tomorrow. When today is finished, you are retired. How do you get there? One solution is to have enough money saved so your passive income, without you lifting a finger, covers your burn rate. A second option is to just reduce your burn rate to 0, effectively becoming a monk. A third is that you're doing something you enjoy. You enjoy it so much that money isn't an issue. So there are several methods to retire. The key to breaking out from the competition trap is to be real, to identify the one thing you excel at. You know how to do it better because you enjoy it, and nobody can compete with you. Then figure out how to apply that to what society really wants. Apply some leverage and sign your name to it. You take the risks, but you reap the benefits, have ownership and equity in what you accomplish, and just crank it up. Money is not the source of all evil. There is nothing wicked about it. But the desire for money is evil. The desire for money is not a bad thing in societal terms. It is not negative in the sense that you're a bad person for lusting after money. It is bad for you. Lusting after money is harmful for us since it is an endless abyss. It will always occupy your thoughts. If you love money and make it, there will never be enough. There is never enough because the desire is turned on and does not turn off at a specific quantity. It's a misconception to believe it switches off at a certain number. You make money to fix your financial and material difficulties. I believe that the greatest way to avoid this persistent need for money is to refrain from upgrading your lifestyle as you earn money. It's incredibly simple to continue enhancing your lifestyle as you earn money. Another thing that helps is that I place a high importance on independence. There are various types of freedom. Freedom to do what I want, freedom from things I don't want to do, freedom from my own feelings or anything that may disrupt my serenity. How can I get lucky? I hope luck finds you. Hustle till you stumble across it. Prepare your head and pay attention to opportunities that others may overlook. Be the best at what you do. Refine your actions until this is true. Opportunity will seek you out. Luck becomes your fate. Build your character in a certain way, and your character will become your fate. One of the most significant aspects of making money, in my opinion, is having a reputation that encourages people to do business with you. If you are a trusted, reliable, high-integrity, long-term thinking deal maker, when others want to do transactions but don't want to do them with strangers, they will contact you and offer you a cut of the deal simply because of your integrity and reputation. You can build your character and reputation, allowing you to take advantage of circumstances that others may consider lucky, but you know they weren't. How crucial is networking? Trying to create business ties before doing business is a ridiculous waste of time. I follow a far more comfortable philosophy. Be a maker who creates something interesting that people want. Show and perfect your craft, and the proper people will find you. And once you've met someone, how do you know if you could trust them? Which indications do you pay heed to? Someone who brags about their honesty is most likely dishonest. When someone spends too much time discussing their own beliefs or praising themselves, they're trying to hide something. I feel that deep down, we all know who we are. You can't hide anything from yourself. Your own failings are inscribed in your psyche, and they are evident to you. If you have a lot of these moral flaws, you won't respect yourself. The worst outcome in this world is a lack of self-esteem. If you don't love yourself, who else will? I believe you simply have to be very cautious about doing things you're not going to be proud of, because they will harm you. I'll warn them the first time they do something like this. By the way, nothing changes. Then I simply distance myself from them. I just have this mantra in my head. The closer you want to get to me, the better your values must be. Be patient. One thing I discovered later in life is that great people produce excellent results. You just need to be patient. Almost everyone I encountered in the start of my career 20 years ago, when I looked at them and said, wow, that guy or gal is super capable, went on to be successful. You simply have to give them a long enough time frame. It never happens in the time frame you like, but it does occur. You simply need to put in the time. You must work hard to establish your own meaning in life. Money can buy you freedom in the tangible world. It will not address your health problems, make your family happy, make you fit, or calm you down. However, it will fix many exterior difficulties. Money can remove some of the obstacles to happiness, but cannot make you happy. Building judgment. Could you define judgment? My idea of wisdom is understanding the long-term ramifications of your actions. Wisdom applied to external concerns is called judgment. They are inextricably linked. Understanding the long-term effects of your activities and then making the appropriate decision to profit on them. Without hard work, you will not build judgment or leverage. You must put in the time, but judgment is more vital. The direction you're going is more important than how quickly you go, especially with leverage. Choosing the direction you're going in for each decision is considerably more significant than how much force you use. Simply choose the appropriate route and begin walking. How to think clearly. When explaining something, if someone uses a lot of fancy words, they most likely don't know what they're talking about. I believe the most intelligent individuals can explain things to children. Really brilliant thinkers are clear thinkers. They have a deep understanding of the fundamentals. If you can't extract notions from the fundamentals when you need them, you're lost. You're simply memorizing. The number one thing that prevents us from seeing reality is our preconceived beliefs of how things should be. When you are in pain, there is a moment of truth. It is a moment in which you are compelled to accept reality as it is. Then you may create real changes and growth. You can only make progress if you start with the truth. The difficult thing is seeing the truth. To see the truth, you must first remove your ego, which refuses to confront the truth. The smaller your ego, the less likely you are to respond negatively, and the less wants you have for the conclusion you want, the easier it will be to recognize reality. It can be difficult to perceive the truth when we are in a state of distress and anguish. We wish the reality was different. The problem isn't reality. The difficulty is that their desire conflicts with reality, stopping them from recognizing the truth. Only when you are bored do you come up with excellent ideas. It will never happen when you are anxious, busy, racing about, or rushed. Make time. I recommend setting aside at least one day per week to simply think. Shed your identity to see reality. Our egos develop during our formative years, or the first 2 decades of our lives. They are shaped by our surroundings, parents, and society. Then we spend the rest of our lives attempting to satisfy our ego. We perceive anything new through our ego. How can I alter the external world to make it more like I want it to be? You absolutely require habits to function. You cannot address every difficulty in life as if it were the first time it was presented to you. We develop all of these habits. We incorporate them into the bundle of identity, ego, and ourselves, and we get devoted to them. It's critical to be able to uncondition yourself, to break down your behaviors and say, okay, this is a tendency I probably picked up as a child. I've reinforced it, and I consider it a part of my identity. Does it still serve me? Does it make me happy? Is it making me healthier? Does it motivate me to complete the tasks I set for myself? Learn the abilities of decision-making. Radical honesty just means I want to be free. Being free includes the ability to talk and think what I choose. They are very congruent and integrated. Theoretical physicist Richard Feynman famously stated, "You should never, ever fool anybody, and you are the easiest person to fool." When you tell someone something dishonest, you are lying to yourself. Then you will begin to believe your own lie, which will cause you to lose touch with reality and lead you astray. Being honest is really essential to me. I don't go out of my way to volunteer unpleasant or harsh information. I combine radical honesty with Warren Buffett's classic rule: praise specifically, criticize generically. If you have a critique for someone, don't criticize the individual. Instead, criticize the overall approach or the class of actions. If you have to praise someone, always go for the individual who best exemplifies what you're praising and thank them directly. Collect mental models. During decision-making, the brain functions as a memory prediction machine. X happened in the past, therefore X will happen in the future, is a bad memory prediction method because it is excessively dependent on specific circumstances. You want principles. Inversion. I do not feel I have the ability to predict what will work. Rather, I strive to eliminate what won't work. I believe that being successful just means avoiding mistakes. It is not about having sound judgment. It is about avoiding making wrong judgments. Principal agent problem. It is a really simple concept. Julius Caesar famously stated, "If you want it done, then go. And if not, send." He meant that if you want anything done correctly, you must go and do it yourself. When you're a principal, you are the owner. You care and will do an excellent job. When you're the agent acting on behalf of another person, you may perform poorly. You simply don't care. You optimize for yourself, not for the principal. If you're unable to decide, the answer is no. If you can't decide, the answer is no. And this is due to the abundance of possibilities in modern culture. We live on a globe with 7 billion people and are connected to everyone via the internet. There are hundreds of thousands of employment options open to you. There are so many options. When you make a decision, you are committed to it for an extended period of time. Starting a business could take 10 years. You begin a connection that will last 5 years or more. You relocate to a city for 10 years. These are really long-term decisions. We should only say yes when we are certain. You'll never be completely certain, but you'll be really certain. Run uphill. If you're evenly split on a difficult issue, choose the more unpleasant option in the short term. If you have two choices that are relatively equal, choose the more difficult and unpleasant road in the short term. What's happening is that one of these approaches demands short-term discomfort. The other path leads to future anguish. And conflict avoidance is your brain's attempt to alleviate short-term suffering. By definition, if the two are equal and one suffers short-term pain, the path provides long-term benefits. The rule of compound interest encourages long-term gains. Your brain is overvaluing the side with short-term bliss while avoiding the one with short-term misery. So you have to overcome the propensity by leaning into the discomfort. As you are aware, the majority of life's achievements come from enduring hardship in the near term in order to reap rewards in the long run. Learn to enjoy reading. A genuine love of reading, when developed, is a superpower. We live in a time when every book and bit of knowledge that has ever been written down is at our fingertips. Learning resources are plentiful. The will to learn is scarce. I do not want to read everything. I just want to read the 100 best books over and over. It's all about finding the right literature for you, because various novels speak to different people. Reading a book is not a race. The better the book, the slower it should be read. When you read a book, you may not recall everything, but you will unconsciously remember it. At some fundamental level, you absorb them, and they form threads in your consciousness. They sort of intertwine in there. I probably read 1 to 2 hours each day. That puts me in the top 0.00001 percentile. I believe that accounts for all of my monetary prosperity and intelligence. Real folks don't read an hour every day. I believe that real people read for 1 minute or less each day. Making reading a regular habit is the most crucial thing. Learning happiness, a peaceful mind, a healthy body, important talents, and a loving home. These items cannot be purchased. They must be earned. Perhaps happiness is not something you inherit or even select, but rather a highly individualized talent that can be learned, just like fitness or nutrition. What is happiness? The answer that works for me will be irrelevant to you, and vice versa. Whatever happiness means to me may not mean the same thing to you. I think it's critical to investigate what these definitions are. I feel that happiness is a default condition. Happiness exists when you remove the impression that something is missing in your life. We are extremely judgmental survival and replication machines. We are continually walking around thinking, I need this or I need that, entangled in a web of demands. Happiness is the state in which nothing is missing. When nothing is lacking, your mind shuts down and quits looking back or forward to regret or plan something. People incorrectly believe that happiness is only about pleasant ideas and behaviors. But every positive thinking contains a bad thought. If I claim I'm joyful, it indicates I was upset at one point. If I call I'm attractive, then someone else is unattractive. To me, pleasure is defined as the absence of desire, particularly the absence of desire for external objects. The fewer wishes I have, the more I can accept the current state of affairs, and the less my mind moves, because the mind is always in motion, either toward the future or the past. The more present I am, the happier and more fulfilled I will be. If I cling onto a feeling, say, oh, I'm happy now, and want to stay pleased, I'll lose that happiness. Suddenly, the mind moves. It's attempting to attach to something. It aims to make a permanent situation out of a transient one. Happiness to me means not suffering, not seeking, not thinking too much about the future or the past, and truly accepting the present moment and the truth of what is and as it is. Things happen, and we have experiences throughout our lives. You have the freedom to interpret things whatever you see fit. You have an option. This is what I mean by happiness is a choice. If you believe it is an option, you can begin working on it. We conceive of ourselves as fixed and the world is changeable, but in reality, we are malleable while the world is essentially fixed. Happiness is a choice. Happiness is a decision you make and a skill you master. The mind is equally malleable as the body. We spend so much time and energy attempting to change the outside world, other people, and our own bodies, all while accepting ourselves as we were programmed in our youth. We accept our inner voice as the ultimate source of truth. Happiness demands presence. When strolling down the street, only a small portion of your brain is engaged on the present moment. The rest is spent pondering the future or lamenting the past. It prevents you from finding the beauty in things and feeling appreciative for your current situation. You can literally destroy your happiness if you spend all of your time living in delusions about the future. We seek experiences that will allow us to be present, but the appetites themselves pull us away from the present moment. Peace is essential to happiness. Are happiness and purpose related? Happiness, to me these days, is more about tranquility than delight. I don't believe peace and purpose are synonymous. If it is your internal purpose, the thing you most desire to do, then you will be content with it. However, I do not believe that an externally imposed aim, such as society wants me to do X, or I am the first son, so I should do Y, can make you satisfied. I believe many of us experience low-level, pervasive anxiety. If you pay attention to your mind, you'll notice that when you're just rushing around, your mind is chattering away. There's this nexting phenomenon in which you sit in one place thinking about where you should go next. It's always the next thing, then the next thing, then the next thing after that, causing widespread concern. It is most noticeable when you sit down and try to do nothing. I mean, literally sit down and do nothing. You can't do it because anxiety is constantly pushing you to get up and go, get up and go. I believe it is critical to recognize that your anxiety is causing you to be unhappy. How I deal with anxiety. I don't try to fight it. I simply realize that I am nervous as a result of all of these ideas. I attempt to figure out whether I'd rather have this thinking right now or have my tranquility. Because as long as I have my thoughts, I will never be at rest. Every desire is a deliberate unhappiness. I believe the most prevalent human error is believing that you will be happy because of some external condition. I understand that's not original. That is not new. We purchased a new automobile. Now I'm waiting for my new car to come. Every night, I read car forums. Why? It's only an automobile. It will have little, if any, impact on my life. I know once the automobile arrives, I won't worry about it anymore. The issue is, I'm addicted to yearning. I'm addicted to the concept that anything external would offer me happiness and joy, which is absolutely ridiculous. The belief that changing something in the outside world will bring you peace, joy, and happiness is a fundamental misconception that we all suffer from. The error is to say, "Oh, I'll be happy when I get that thing." That is the fundamental mistake that we all make on a daily basis. The underlying delusion. There is something out there that will keep me happy and fulfilled indefinitely. Desire is a contract you create with yourself to remain unhappy until you achieve your goal. I don't think most of us understand what that is. I believe we spend all day craving stuff and then wonder why we are unhappy. I like to be conscious of it because it allows me to make more deliberate choices about my aspirations. I try not to have more than one strong desire in my life at any given moment. Desire is a contract you create with yourself to remain unhappy until you achieve your goal. When you are young and healthy, you can accomplish more. By doing more, you are actually fulfilling more and more desires. You don't realize how this is steadily killing your happiness. When you are young, you have time. You are well, but you have no money. When you reach middle age, you have money and health, but you don't have time. When you get old, you have money and time, but no health. So the trifecta aims to get all three at once. By the time people realize they have enough money, they have lost both time and health. Success does not bring happiness. Happiness means being content with what you have. Success stems from unhappiness. Choose. This led me to conclude that happiness is an interior state. That realization led me on a path of focusing more on my inner self and learning that all true achievement is inside and has little to do with external circumstances. The trouble with becoming successful at a game, especially one with high prizes, is that you keep playing it long after you should have stopped. To me, the true winners are those who leave the game totally, don't even play it, and rise beyond it. Those are the folks who have such intrinsic mental strength, self-control, and self-awareness that they require nothing from anyone else. I see happiness as an emergent feature of serenity, being tranquil on the inside, and now it will eventually lead to happiness. However, peace is extremely difficult to achieve. The irony is that most of us seek peace through violence. In some ways, starting a business is similar to going to war. When you dispute about who should do the dishes, you're going to war. You're struggling so that you can feel secure and at ease afterward. Today, we believe that finding serenity involves overcoming all of your exterior difficulties. However, there are limitless external problems. The only way to truly achieve inner peace is to abandon the concept of troubles altogether. Jealousy is the enemy of happiness. The adversary of peace of mind is the expectations imposed by society and others. Jealousy was an extremely difficult emotion for me to conquer. When I was younger, I was really jealous. Eventually, I learned how to get rid of it. It still shows up now and then. It's such a terrible emotion because, in the end, envy doesn't make you any better off. You're unhappy, and the person you're jealous of is still prosperous, attractive, or whatever it is. One day, I understood that I couldn't only be envious of small pieces of their lives. I can't say whether I want his body or his personality. You need to be that person. Do you really want to be that person with all of their reactions, desires, family, and perspective on life? If you're not willing to undertake a complete swap with that individual, there's no purpose in being envious. Once I realized this, my jealousy faded because I don't want to be anyone else. I'm absolutely content being myself. Even that is under my control. To be happy with who I am. There are no social incentives for it. Happiness is built by habits. My most surprising finding over the last 5 years has been that tranquility and contentment are talents. You can gradually raise your happiness, and it all begins with believing you can. When working, surround oneself with more successful people. When playing, surround yourself with people who are happier than you. What kind of skill is happiness? It's all about trial and error. You simply see what works. A good concept is to develop good habits. Avoiding alcohol and sugar will help you maintain a more steady mood. Staying off Facebook, Snapchat, and Twitter will help you maintain a more steady mood. Playing video games will make you happier in the short term, but in the long run, it may undermine your happiness. You're being fed dopamine and having it taken from you in these small, unpredictable increments. The difference between persons who become happier as they age and those who do not can be explained by their behaviors. Are these behaviors that will boost your long-term happiness over your short-term happiness? Are you surrounded by people who are generally happy and upbeat? Are the relationships low maintenance? Do you admire and respect them without envy? The first guideline of dealing with conflict is to avoid persons who are continually in disagreement. I'm not interested in anything unsustainable or tough to maintain, even challenging relationships. The most crucial key to happiness is to recognize that it is a skill and a decision. You decide to be happy, and then you work toward it. You select what's important to you. You prioritize it. You read everything on the subject. Happiness habits. The obvious one is meditation. Just being there in every moment. I used to feel annoyed by some things. Now I always look for the bright side of things. It used to require a rational effort. It used to take me a few seconds to come up with anything positive. Now I can accomplish it in less than a second. Every time you find yourself wanting something, ask yourself, is it so important to me that I'll be unhappy if it doesn't happen? You'll find that the vast majority of things are simply not true. I believe working out every day made me happier. Peace of mind is simpler to achieve when you have physical peace. The more you judge, the more you alienate yourself. You'll feel wonderful for a little moment since you believe you're superior than others. Later, you'll feel lonely. Then you notice negativity everywhere. The world simply reflects your own feelings back to you. Tell your friends you're happy. Then you'll have to conform to it. You will have a consistency bias. You must live up to it. Your friends will expect you to be joyful. The more secrets you keep, the less happy you will be. There are no exceptions. All screen activities are connected to lower happiness, while all non-screen activities are linked to higher happiness. A personal metric. How much of your day is spent doing things out of responsibility rather than interest? Discover contentment in acceptance. In every circumstance in life, you have three options. Alter it, accept it, or leave it. If you wish to change something, that is a desire. It will bring you pain until you can properly change it. So don't choose too many of them. Choose one major desire in your life, at any given time, to offer yourself direction and inspiration. What is not a good alternative is to sit about wishing you could change it, but not doing so, wishing you could go but not doing so, and refusing to accept it. The majority of our sorrow stems from that battle. The term I probably say to myself the most in my brain is just one word: accept. What do you think acceptance looks like? It's okay whatever happens. We do not always get our way, but sometimes what happens is for the best. The sooner you accept it as fact, the easier it will be to adapt to. Acceptance is quite challenging. I've tried a few hacks, but they're not entirely successful. One trick is to take a step back and reflect on earlier instances of hardship in my life. What happened the last time you broke up with someone, had a business failure, or had a health problem? Then consider what you learned and how you evolved from it. I have another hack for dealing with minor annoyances. When they occur, a portion of me will immediately respond negatively. But I've learned to consciously ask myself, what is the positive aspect of this situation? For example, I'll be late to a meeting, but what is the benefit to me? I get to relax and spend some time outside. I'll also spend less time in that tedious meeting. There is virtually always something positive. Saving yourself. Doctors will not make you healthy. Teachers will not make you smarter. Trainers will not make you fit. Finally, you have to accept responsibility. Save yourself. Many of you are beating yourself up and making notes, saying, I need to do this, and I need to do that, and I need to do, but you don't have to do anything. Instead, just be yourself. Nobody in the world will be able to beat you at being yourself. Certainly, listen to others, but do not strive to copy them. It's a pointless endeavor. Instead, each individual is individually qualified for something. They have unique information, capabilities, and desires that no one else in the world possesses. If you have nothing in your life, but at least one person who loves you unconditionally, it will boost your self-esteem. Choosing to care for oneself. Nothing like a health issue to raise the contrast dial for the rest of your life. My health is my number one priority in life, ahead of happiness, family, and career. It begins with my physical well-being. Second, it's about my mental wellness. Then there's my family's well-being. After that, I can go out and do whatever I want. Most fit and healthy people care more about what they eat than how much. Quality control is simple and leads to quantity control. The world's simplest diet. The more processed the food, the less you should eat. Whenever you recommend a healthy habit to someone, they will make an explanation for themselves. The most common response is, I don't have time. "I don't have time" is simply another way of stating it's not a priority. What you really need to do is indicate whether it is a priority. If something is your top priority, you will accomplish it. That's just how life works. If you have a jumbled collection of 10 or 15 distinct priorities, you will end up getting none of them. Like anything in life, if you are prepared to make the short-term sacrifice, you will reap the long-term benefits. My physical trainer usually says, easy decisions, hard life. Hard choices, easy lives. Meditation and mental strength. This taught me a crucial lesson. Avoidance is the source of the majority of our pain. The most painful aspect of taking a cold shower is tiptoeing into it. Once you get in, you're in. It is not suffering. It's only cold. Your body tells you it's chilly, but your mind doesn't. Recognize your body's signal that it is cold. Look at this. Deal with it. Accept it, but don't let it get you down mentally. Taking a cold shower for 2 minutes will not kill you. Do you have a current meditation practice? The one that works best for me is non-judgmental awareness. When walking, you make no decisions. You make no judgments about anything. You simply accept everything. If I do this for 10 or 15 minutes while strolling around, I end up feeling extremely tranquil and thankful. If I met a guy with awful hair, my first thought would be, he has a bad hair day. But why am I laughing at him to feel better about myself? Because I'm losing my hair and am terrified it will go away. I find that 90% of my thoughts are fear-based. The remaining 10% could be motivated by personal desires. As you observe your ideas, you'll see how many of them are fear-based. When you realize a fear, it disappears without effort. After a while, your mind calms. Another approach I've discovered is to simply sit there and close your eyes. Things have always happened to you. Some good, some awful, the majority of which you digested and dissipated, but a few remained with you. Over time, more things will stick with you, and these things may have a negative impact on you. So, how do you cope with these situations? During meditation, you sit there without battling your mind. These things will start to bubble up. It's like a gigantic inbox of unanswered emails from your childhood. They'll come out one by one, and you'll have to deal with them. I recommend meditating for 1 hour. You will be forced to address them. They are easily resolved by simply observing them. Now that you're an adult with considerable distance, time, and space from earlier incidents, you can simply resolve them. You can be far more objective in how you perceive them. Over time, you will overcome many of the deep, unresolved issues in your mind. Once they're resolved, there will come a day when you sit down to meditate and hit a mental inbox zero. It's a really fantastic feeling to open your mental email and find no messages. It's a state of happiness and tranquility. Once you have it, you don't want to let it go. Meditation isn't difficult. All you have to do is sit down and do nothing. Please sit down. Close your eyes and say, I'm just going to take a break from life. I'm not going to do anything now. If thoughts arrive, they come. I'm not going to fight them. I'm not going to embrace them. I'm not going to think about them any more deeply. I'm not going to reject them. I'm just going to sit here for an hour with my eyes closed and do nothing. How difficult is that? What's the big deal about giving yourself an hour off? Meditation has the virtue of making you aware of how out of control your mind is. It's totally uncontrollable. Before you develop a dislike for this insane monster and begin to distance yourself from it, you must first witness it in action. That divide represents emancipation. You realize, I do not want to be that person. Why do I feel so out of control? Awareness alone can calm you down. Another issue is future fantasy planning. During these instances, we should catch ourselves and question ourselves if we really need to do something right now, or if it's better to be in the moment. 95% of what my brain goes off and attempts to do isn't anything I need to deal with right now. If the brain is like a muscle, I'd better rest it and be at ease. When a certain problem develops, I will become immersed in it. We spend much too much time in our thoughts engaging in internal dialogue. All of this was simply imprinted into you by society and the surroundings when you were younger. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made? And how did you recover? Life will unfold just as it should. There will be both positive and negative outcomes. Most of it is simply up to your perception. It is up to you to interpret such events, and everyone does it differently. Really, I wish I had done the same things, but with less emotion and wrath. I would have seen that the anger and feelings were an entirely unneeded result. Now I'm trying to learn from that and do the same things I believe are right, but without anger and with a long-term perspective. If you look at it from a long-term perspective and remove the emotion, I don't think those are mistakes. To attain peace of mind, you must first achieve physical calm. When we claim we're going to attempt something or create a habit, we're giving up. We're just telling ourselves, I'm going to buy myself some more time. The truth is that when our emotions tell us to do something, we do it. If you want to approach a gorgeous girl, have a drink, or get something you really want, you just go for it. When you say, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to be that, you're putting it off. You are providing yourself an out. At the very least, if you're self-aware, you can think, I say I want to do this, but I don't because if I really wanted to, I would just do it. Make outward commitments to a sufficient number of people. For example, if you want to quit smoking, all you have to do is tell everyone you know, I stopped smoking. I did it. I give you my word. Impatience with acts, patience with outcomes. Whatever you have to do, just do it. Why wait? You're not becoming any younger. Your life is going gone. You do not want to spend it standing in line. When you complete them, you want to finish them as soon as possible while paying close attention to every detail. However, you must be patient with the results because you're dealing with complex systems and people. If there is something you want to do later, then do it now. There is no later. What 1 or 2 principles would you teach your children? Number 1, read. Learn to enjoy reading. Simply read for its own reason. The next step is persuasion in maths. Having the ability to persuade others is vital since it allows you to accomplish a lot. I believe persuasion is an actual ability, so you may learn it, and it is not difficult to do so. Mathematics can help with all of life's complex and tough problems. Mathematics is at the heart of everything. Making money, doing science, understanding game theory, politics, economics, investing, and computers. It is the underlying language of nature. You simply need to understand fundamental statistics, arithmetic, and other concepts. You should have a thorough understanding of statistics and probability. Choosing to free yourself. Be mindful that there are no adults. Everyone makes it up as they go along. You must forge your own route, choosing and discarding as you see fit. Figure it out for yourself and do it. How have your values shifted? When I was younger, I placed a high emphasis on independence. Freedom was one of my core principles. Ironically, it still is. It is certainly one of my top 3 values, although the notion of freedom has changed. My previous definition was freedom to do whatever I choose. Now I'm yearning for internal freedom. It means freedom from reaction, freedom from being angry, freedom from being forced to do anything. I'm striving for freedom from, both personally and publicly, whereas I used to seek freedom to, free from expectations. If you hurt others because they have expectations of you, it is their fault. If they have an agreement with you, it is your responsibility. However, if they have an expectation of you, it is entirely their responsibility. This has nothing to do with you. You should value your time. This is all you have. Don't spend your time. This is not to say that you cannot relax. It's not a waste of time if you're doing something you enjoy. But if you're not spending your time doing what you want, earning money, and learning, what are you doing? Don't waste your time making others happy. Other people's happiness is their problem. It is not your problem. If you are happy, other people will be pleased as well. If you're happy, others will ask you how you got there, and they may learn from it, but you are not responsible for making them happy. Freedom from anger. What is anger? Anger is a strong indication to the other party that you are capable of violence. Anger is the forerunner to violence. Pay attention when you're angry. Anger signifies a loss of control over the issue. Anger is a contract you create with yourself to experience physical, mental, and emotional distress until reality changes. Freedom from employment. People who live well below their means enjoy a level of freedom that those who are constantly upgrading their lifestyles do not grasp. A taste of freedom can make you unemployed. A significant habit I'm working on is turning off my monkey mind. As youngsters, we're pretty blank slates. We live very much in the present. We live in what I call the real world. Puberty marks the onset of desire, the first time you truly want something and begin long-term planning. You begin to think a lot, forming an identity and an ego in order to achieve your goals. If you walk down the street and there are 1,000 individuals, each one is talking to themselves in their heads at any one time. They are continuously assessing what they observe. They're replaying movies of what occurred to them yesterday. They live in fantasy realms about what will happen tomorrow. They've simply been yanked out of their normal reality. That could be beneficial when doing long-term planning. It might be beneficial when you solve problems. I believe it has a negative impact on your happiness. I believe that the intellect should be a servant and a tool, not a master. My monkey mind should not be in control and driving me around all the time. The meaning of life. What exactly is the meaning and purpose of life? Answer 1. It is personal. You need to discover your own purpose. Any piece of wisdom you receive from anyone else, whether Buddha or me, will seem ridiculous. You just have to sit there and dig into the question. It can take years or decades. When you find a satisfactory solution, it will have a significant impact on your life. Answer 2. There is no significance in life. There is no purpose in life. Osho once observed, it's like riding on water or building houses of sand. The truth is that you've been dead for at least 10 billion years. You will be dead for the next 70 billion years, or until the universe's heat death. Whatever you do will fade. It will vanish, along with the human species and the earth. No one will remember you after a certain number of generations. There is no basic, essential meaning to the universe. If there was, you'd simply ask the following question. You'd ask, why is that the meaning? There is no explanation that doesn't include another why. Lie by your values. Honesty is a basic virtue. To be honest, I just want to be myself. I never want to be in a situation or with individuals where I have to watch what I say. I'm no longer in the moment if I'm not honest, since every time I talk to someone, I'm either planning for the future or lamenting the past. Another example of a fundamental value. I do not believe in short-term thinking or behavior. If I'm doing business with someone and they think in the short term about someone else, I don't want to do business with them anymore. Compound interest is responsible for all of life's advantages, whether they be financial, romantic, health-related, or habitual. Another reason is that I exclusively believe in peer relationships. I do not believe in hierarchical relationships. I don't want to be above or below anybody. If I can't treat someone like a peer and they can't treat me like one, I don't want to interact with them. I believe everyone has values. Finding other people who share your beliefs is an important part of developing strong relationships with coworkers. The little details are irrelevant if your values are in sync. In general, I believe that when people fight or disagree on something, it is because their ideals do not align. If their values were aligned, the minor details would be irrelevant. What is wisdom? It's recognizing the long-term effects of your actions,